Full of heavy gambling, bright lights, big casinos, and colorful characters, Reno doesn't seem like it would be home to much ideological or ethical scientific debate. However, with the growing controversy surrounding genetically modified foods, we can also see a level of public interest that indicates an increase in their concern for the world around them. First, a little history. Via high school biology class, you're most likely familiar with a man named Charles Darwin. His 1859 work on the origin of species is credited with being one of the first publications to touch on genetics. His theory of natural selection challenged all other beliefs at the time regarding life and religion. Slightly less known are the 1857 experiments of Gregor Mendel. He crossbred different strains of pea plants and concluded that traits were passed down from generation to generation in pairs, one from each parent. His deductions also showed that sometimes the genetic makeup of an organism calls for one trait, while another stronger one is observed instead. Two other monumental developments occurred in the 20th century. In 1902, English physician Sir Archibald Garrod studied a disease called alkaptonuria that was passed down within families. His experiments were some of the first interpretations regarding genetics in humans. Secondly, in 1962, James Watson, Francis Crick, and Maurice Wilkins won the Nobel Prize for their discovery and development of the double helix DNA model. In this model, organic bases are paired in a very specific fashion to connect the DNA half strands. These organic bases and specific DNA sequences are what make up genes. Genes are the functional units within a DNA molecule that code for different things to happen. For instance, the regulation of body processes, or the color of your hair. Genetic expression is the turning on and turning off of genes. For instance, the gene for eye color is only expressed in iris cells, and the alcohol tolerance gene is only expressed in the liver. Genetic expression can be altered both naturally and artificially, as in a laboratory. Changing genetic expression can change how a cell behaves. This leads to the question, what exactly is a GMO? A GMO, or genetically modified organism, is an organism whose DNA has been altered through careful genetic engineering. Scientists around the world have altered the genetic makeup of plants and animals, some of which become our food. Genetically modified foods have brought up many questions from both the public and from within the scientific community itself. In a poll performed by the New York Times in 2013, 3/4 of those surveyed expressed concerns about genetically modified organisms in their food, with most of them worried about the effects on people's health. 37% of those worried about GMOs said they feared that such foods caused cancer or allergies. In another poll performed by the National Public Radio, 21% of those surveyed said that they thought genetically modified food was safe, and 15% said it was unsafe. However, 2/3 of the people surveyed said that they weren't sure. This overwhelming amount of unsure people is what's holding more scientific research back. This leads to the big questions. Are GMOs unsafe? Is the public right to be fearful of genetically modified foods? Is the bad reputation GMOs have developed merited? No, it really isn't, and no, they really don't. The biggest questions and doubts the public has regarding GMOs can be narrowed down to 4 major concerns. First, that GMOs are risks to biological and health safety in their lack of testing. Second, that there are risks posed to farmers and their crops due to outcrossing and contamination. Third, that there is a promotion of big companies over the small farmer. And fourth, that there are threats posed to the environment. Regarding the issue of insufficient testing of the biological and health safety of genetically modified foods, GM foods are actually the most thoroughly examined whole food group in history besides chemical food additives. Scientific studies have proven and continue to prove that there is no added risk in consuming genetically modified foods. To elucidate, the GM food testing process can be roughly summarized into several steps. GM foods are compared side by side to their conventional counterparts to spot any differences. The gene source is analyzed to avoid any possible toxic or allergenic sources. The food is tested in mice and livestock for nutrition, and a compositional analysis is performed that analyzes vitamins, minerals, and other nutrients. Next comes the biggest environmental issue, outcrossing. Outcrossing is the crossbreeding of genetically modified plants and non-GM plants. Many steps are being taken to prevent outcrossing, including engineering plants so they don't produce pollen and creating seedless fruit. Genetically modified foods have also presented issues to smaller farmers. In the court case of Organic Seed Growers and Trade Association versus Monsanto, a group of farmers sued the GM crop giant Monsanto in an effort to invalidate Monsanto's patents on seeds and protect non-GMO farmers. Though the case was dismissed, Monsanto's regulations were changed and the farmers protected. Outside of outcrossing, another environmental concern is the use of herbicides. Herbicide resistance genes bred into plants grant the plants immunity to different kinds of herbicides. This means that farmers can use broad-spectrum herbicides to kill weeds without having to worry about their crops. The use of herbicides presents various risks to the environment, risks that are present whether the herbicides are used in GMOs or conventional plants. With the presence of GMOs comes the issue of labeling. Those against labeling say that the labels might be perceived as warnings, adding to the stigmatization of GMO products. However, with a better educated public, GMO labels would be seen as simply labels that help people make the right product choices for themselves. Located on Court Street in downtown Reno is the Great Basin Community Food Cooperative. Member-owned and community-oriented, the co-op supports local farmers in GMO labeling. According to its board president, it takes a lot of time and effort to find the presence of GMOs in the products they want to sell due to the fact that labeling isn't required on a federal level. Its members want to make their own decisions and avoid putting all their agricultural eggs in one corporate basket. So what's the bottom line? Science has advanced to the point where we've gained the ability to create new and improved foods for our society. Many of these foods are developed to help poorer countries fight malnutrition and starvation. More objective information available to the public would make issues like labeling less scary. Overall, what you eat is up to you. With the information I presented, hopefully we can all make better formulated, more cognizant choices.